They gathered on a plain in Shinar, a generation after the flood, and made a decision that would fracture humanity. They would build a tower whose top reached into the heavens. They would make a name for themselves so they would not be scattered across the earth. And then, in a single moment, their language broke. The account comes from Genesis chapter 11. The whole earth had one language and the same words. As people migrated from the east, they found this plain and settled there. They said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they used brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Their ambition was singular: build a city, build a tower, reach the heavens, and resist the divine command to fill the earth. Mesopotamia had no natural stone. The builders of Shinar used what the land gave them: clay from the riverbanks, shaped into bricks, baked in kilns until they hardened like rock. Then they sealed those bricks with bitumen, the thick black tar that seeped from the earth in that region. This was technology that would outlast empires. They were not primitive people reaching foolishly for the sky. They were the most advanced builders of their age. Jewish tradition and extra-biblical sources name the architect Nimrod, the great-grandson of Noah. Genesis describes him as the first mighty man on earth, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The book of Jubilees fills in the details. Nimrod ruled the kingdom that included Babel. Josephus, the first-century Jewish historian, wrote that Nimrod instigated the tower's construction specifically to defy God, to build a structure so high no flood could ever threaten his people again. The archaeology does not give us Nimrod's name carved into a brick, but it gives us something equally significant. And yet, here is where the archaeology begins to speak. Across ancient Mesopotamia, archaeologists have uncovered the remains of over 30 ziggurats. These were not ordinary temples. They were massive stepped pyramids, some rising over 90 meters, with staircases climbing from the ground to a shrine at the summit. The most famous, the Great Ziggurat of still stands in southern Iraq, its mud brick core weathered but unmistakable. The ziggurat was a staircase between earth and heaven, exactly the structure Genesis describes. In Babylon itself, a ziggurat once stood called Etemenanki. The name translates to the temple of the foundation of heaven and earth. It had 7 tiers, each painted a different color: black, red, blue, orange, silver, gold, and a temple at the summit made from glazed blue bricks. A cuneiform tablet from the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II describes its construction in detail. When Alexander the Great arrived in Babylon in 331 BC, he found Etemenanki in ruins and ordered it rebuilt. His men spent 2 months just clearing the rubble. The biblical text says, God came down to see the city and the tower. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language." This is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing they propose will now be impossible for them. The judgment was not thunder and fire. It was language. In an instant, their single tongue fragmented. The builder could no longer understand the brickmaker. The architect could no longer direct the laborer. The project collapsed, not from structural failure, but from the collapse of the one thing that had united them. This is where the history behind the history becomes visible. Linguists have long recognized that the world's languages group into families: Semitic, Indo-European, Sino-Tibetan, and dozens more that appear to have diverged from common ancestor languages. The Sumerian language, spoken in the very region of Shinar, is a language isolate. It has no known relatives. It appeared suddenly in the archaeological record around 3100 BC, fully formed with no clear ancestor. The archaeology and the theology are not enemies here. They describe the same moment from different angles. The Tower of Babel story does not belong to Genesis alone. A Sumerian text called Enmerkar and the Lord of Aratta describes a golden age when all peoples spoke a single language to the god Enlil, until the god Enki changed their speech and brought contention among them. The pyramid texts of Egypt speak of a primeval unity disrupted by divine decree. Mesoamerican traditions, recorded by Spanish chroniclers, tell of the Great Pyramid of Cholula, built to reach the clouds, struck down by the gods who scattered the builders with different languages. The Tower of Babel is not fundamentally about architecture. It is about the human impulse to secure identity apart from God. "Let us make a name for ourselves," the builder said. "Not a monument to divine glory, but a monument to human achievement." The sin of Babel was not ambition, it was autonomy. This is what changes everything. The scattering was not merely punishment, it was a mercy. A unified humanity with a corrupted purpose is more dangerous than a divided humanity learning to seek God again. The story does not end in Genesis. In the book of Acts, chapter 2, the apostles gather in Jerusalem for the Feast of Pentecost. Suddenly, tongues of fire rest on each of them, and they begin to speak in languages they had never learned. Jews from every nation under heaven, Parthians, Medes, Elamites, residents of Mesopotamia, hear the gospel in their own native tongue. Babel scattered humanity through the fracture of language. Pentecost gathered humanity through the healing of language. The arc bends toward redemption. Here is what the evidence shows us. The ziggurats were real. The bricks and bitumen, real. The ancient memory of a single language, preserved by cultures across 3 continents. The archaeological record of Mesopotamia confirms that a massive building project in the plain of Shinar is historically plausible in every detail. Does any of this prove the biblical account? No single artifact ever does. But the convergence, biblical text, archaeological remains, linguistic evidence, and cultural memory forms something that demands attention. The history behind the history that echoes of Antiquity Untold exists to tell. The Tower of Babel was never just about a building. It was about who we become when we decide we no longer need God. The bricks are real, the ruins are real, and the question the tower poses is just as real today as it was on the plain of Shinar. If this is the kind of story you have been searching for, the history behind the history, the evidence beneath the text, then you are in the right place. Hit subscribe so you do not miss the next one. I will see you in the caves.